welcome back to my channel. My name is Charlotte. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in March. So in March I read a total of 12 books and 10 of them were fantasy, 2 of them were romance. I was really in my fantasy era in March, that's for sure. So yeah, I'm really excited. I had a lot of really good reads. I had some rereads that were like 5-star rereads, which was really fun. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the first book I don't have a physical copy of. It was an ARC that I had on NetGalley and it was called Spells, Strings and Forgotten Things. And this book was so cute, kind of like a witchy little romance book, I guess. You're following this witch who's part of this family of 3 sisters and nobody really knows that they're witches, and there's some kind of curse placed on their magic. And our main character runs into this guy who is from an opposing group of people. I can't remember exactly who they are. And so they have a bit of an enemies to lovers situation. They have really good banter, but they end up teaming up basically to try and work towards finding a cure for this curse. And it's just really cute book. The family dynamics and found family was really cute. The romance was really fun. Like I said, the banter was really good. And it was just a fun book. It wasn't anything super high stakes like other fantasy books. It was definitely a bit more low key, although still a very good plot going on. So yeah, I really liked this one. The next book that I have is Die For You by Lauren Jackson. And I've been meaning to read this for so long. It is a vampire fantasy romance book. The author is Australian, which is fun. And that's basically all I knew going into it. But basically in this book, we are following our main character whose sister has gone missing, and she has basically looked into it and found out that vampires are real, and she thinks that they have something to do with her sister being taken. And so she goes to this town that is known for having a lot of vampires around, and she enrolls in this school so that they have a reason to be there. And she basically starts investigating to try and figure out what happened to her sister. She ends up meeting, I don't know what the guy's name is. It's not even on the back. Anyway, she ends up meeting this guy who is a vampire and they have a bit of a romance. And yeah, that's the plot. It was a very fun, easy read, but I feel I've read a lot better vampire books. For example, Immortal Dark, which I read last year, also an Australian author. Also, weirdly, a book about a girl going to investigate her sister going missing because she thinks she got taken by vampires. But I loved that book. And so I don't know what it was, but I don't know if it was the writing, the plot, the romance, all of it was good, but it wasn't amazing. So I think I rated it a 3.5 stars because of that. It was fun. I don't know if I'll pick up the next book, but it was an easy, fun time. That's basically all I have to say about it. Next up, I had a reread of 2 books that I read probably 2.5 years ago because they had a 3rd book coming out that I was so excited about, but I was I remember nothing. So those books are Legendborn and Bloodmarked by Tracy. I love these books. They were 5 stars when I read them the first time. I audiobooked them for my reread and they were so good. I stand by 5 stars. They are YA fantasy, but they definitely read a bit more upper YA. I will say the magic system is quite complex, I feel for YA, but it's really well written fantasy. So basically in book 1, we're following Breanne, who has recently lost her mother, and her mum went to this basically it's a gifted program where you go to a college 2 years early to fulfill your last couple years of high school, I think. But you basically go to college campus at 16 years old and you're there as a sort of more gifted person. Anyway, so she goes to this school, and on her first night there, she sees demons and a group of people fighting with the demons. And so she basically gets swept up into this world with secret society and magic and all this stuff that she didn't know existed. And all the magic is based on King Arthur, which is really interesting. And yeah, I feel I can't say more than that. The plot basically goes from there. It's a very well-written book / series. The magic system is very detailed and creative, and you can tell she has thought a lot about all the details of it. Breanne herself as a main character, I just love. She's such a strong character, and I just love seeing her navigate every single situation. There's also really good found family especially like by the third book, you're like, oh my god, I love these characters and this world, and they really care for each other, and it's very sweet. And yeah, I just love it. There's also a romance subplot. I will say it's a subplot, it is not a main plot. Don't go in expecting like fantasy romance vibes. Very, very minor. Yeah, I just love these books. I have read Oathbound now, which is the third book, but I only read it in April. So that will be in next month's wrap up. But yeah, I really highly recommend these books. Very good fantasy series. Next up, I have Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reid. This is an arc I was lucky enough to receive from Penguin. And this one I was so intrigued by. It's a young adult dystopian romance book, standalone as well, so you're not starting like a new series, it's just by itself, which is always really nice. Premise for this one, it's kind of like a Hunger Games vibe. So basically in this world there's like a main government ruling, and there's the really wealthy people, and then there's the people who can't afford much, but the government lets them get into a lot of debt. Like they can go over however much money they actually have, and they like owe it to the government. But once they reach a certain level of debt, the government can be like, okay, well, now we're going to sacrifice someone in your family to like be a part of this game, where they basically get hunted, and it gets like televised for everybody. They get hunted by these like people that have sort of been like modified to be like, not like I feel like they give the vibes of like being like part robot, like their brain has been like rewired, and like they can run faster, and they have more skills and like all that kind of stuff, and they hunt the people. And in this book we're following one of the people who is like doing the hunting, and then also this girl who is being hunted in the game. And it was just really fun. It was really like fast paced. The world was really interesting to follow. I love a dystopian book so much, and the romance was really cute. I did feel like the romance kind of went from like 0 to 100 like all of a sudden. Like it was like slow burning, and then it was just like it flipped a switch, and I was like, what's happening? But like it was really sweet. And yeah, I thought this was really fun. If you are looking for like a dystopian book to like scratch that itch from like, I don't know, 10 years ago when they were like all the rage, I'd give this one a try. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Can't live up to like Hunger Games, of course, but it was definitely a good time. And next I have Glow of the Everflame, and this is book 2 in the Kindred's Curse saga. So this is a series that was indie published. I think there's 3 books out. The 4th one has been released, but it's slowly being traditionally published by Simon & Schuster in Australia. I read book 1, Spark of the Everflame, towards the end of last year, and I really liked it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It was just giving like what I wanted from a fantasy book. Like it had like the kingdom with all the people there who were like super powerful and have a lot of magic and all of that stuff, and then we had like the powerless, not rich people, and we're following DM, who is from like that world, but she sort of works in the like palace area, and so she sort of gets to see both sides of it. And there's a lot of like political drama and like interesting relationship dynamics that get built out. And yeah, it's just very, very interesting. And I think the first book really set everything up really well for this book, which I loved. It was a bit longer. I think it was like 600 pages. The next one is like 1,000 pages on Kindle at least, which is very long. But yeah, this one was a bit longer than the first one, and I was genuinely hooked the whole time. Like the way the first one ended off meant that this was like set up so well. There was like so many different, there was just like so much to dive into, and so many characters that I was intrigued by. I was genuinely like hooked the whole time. Like I binged this book. I stayed up late to finish this book, which does not happen very often because I can't stay up late. And the romance in this series is so good. It is slow burn, like slow. Like it's been 2 books and we're still working on it. I love that. Like it is true slow burn, and I love a slow burn. So this is just really giving me everything that I wanted. I'm really excited for the next one. I am a bit worried because I've heard more mixed reviews on it, because it's like, some people say it's like unnecessarily long, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see where the story goes, because yeah, I really like this. And the way that it ended, she knows how to do a cliffhanger, that is for sure. So yeah, highly recommend this series. Next up, I have Summer in the City. It's the cover by Alex Aster, who is the author of Lightlark, the like fantasy think it's fantasy series. So this is her first romance book, and I was lucky enough to get a proof copy from Bloomsbury last year. But I think this is already out in stores now, which is exciting. And this book had like such a fun plot line. We're following our main character Elle, who is a screenwriter, and she basically hates New York. And in the very beginning of the book, she has a run-in with this guy, and they have like a little thing, and then something happens and she's like, oh my god, I hate this guy. And they like don't see each other for years. Then she comes back to New York to work on a movie that she's writing, and it's set in New York, so she's like going around to see all the different like scenery and stuff to like get inspired. And she's staying in this person's apartment, which happens to be directly across from the guy that she met in like the first chapter of the book, who she doesn't like, and he is like a billionaire. I think he like needs to keep up a good image or something, so they agree to like fake date for that purpose, and so that he can like something to do with his image and having a girlfriend and like going to events with him. And then he agrees to like take her to these like dates around all these New York spots so that she can write her script, if that makes sense. So it's like a billionaire romance. It's like forced proximity. It's set in New York in the summer. It's really fun. Like, it was a really fun book. Like, I flew through it. It's not that long. Really easy to read. The characters were funny. The writing was just like witty and easy to get through. I will say I didn't like love it. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars, and I was like, I just can't give it any higher because the writing just didn't feel amazing, if that makes sense. Like, it was like it felt so sort of like melodramatic and like unbelievable. Like, I know it's fiction, but like it felt like there was just no reality in it, if that makes sense. So like, it was great escapism, that's for sure. And like, I feel like it would make a really fun like movie, like a really good rom-com, but like it felt like a movie where you're like, well, this is kind of like ridiculous and this is never gonna happen. And like some of those lines are a bit cringy, that kind of thing, if that makes sense. But I would definitely recommend picking it up if you want like a really easy summer read. Like, I can imagine people like really enjoying this one. And I did enjoy it. I just didn't love it. That is Summer in the City. Next up, we have Under Lock and Key. And this one is an interesting one. So I have this Afterlight edition that I got in one of my boxes earlier in the year, and I thought this was like a cute little romance set in Scotland. There's a play on words about Loch Ness Monster. I was like, there's going to be some kind of plot related to the Loch Ness Monster. I didn't read the synopsis, I guess, because it turns out he is the Loch Ness Monster. And it's like a paranormal romance, I guess. So, like, that was a bit of a plot twist when I got there. Anyway, I don't know. It was an interesting one. Regardless of the Loch Ness Monster part, I didn't like love the writing. I didn't find it like a super interesting plot line. Like, it was fun and easy. I think I gave it 3 stars. Like, it was an okay book. Some of it cringed me out a little bit, but it didn't blow me away. If you were interested in romance with the Loch Ness Monster, here's your book. Pick it up, give it a try. Just wasn't for me personally, but like, it wasn't bad. It was okay. It was 3 stars. And next up, I have Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. This is a book I have been so excited to read because I've seen so many people reading it and giving it raving reviews. And I'm going to do the same because I give it 5 stars. I loved it. It was so good. So this kind of gives like Invisible Life of Addie LaRue vibes if you've read that. But I liked that book, but I didn't love it. I found it quite slow and like a bit of a slog to get through, even though I liked a lot of the like storyline and themes. This one, on the other hand, it gave sort of like a similar feeling, but I found it really addicting and I couldn't like put it down. I was always thinking about it and I wanted to keep reading it. So in this book, we are following our 2 main characters, and basically they have fallen in love in every lifetime, but they've also killed each other in every lifetime. Before they turn 18, something always happens and they end up like remembering each other and killing each other, and then they wake up in another life the same thing happens again. So they've been alive for like, I can't remember how long it was, maybe like 1,000 years or something. And we are following our female main character in this current life, which is sort of like modern day. And it's nearly her 18th birthday, and her sister has cancer and she needs I think it was a bone marrow transplant from her. And so she's like trying to hold out being killed essentially to get this bone marrow transplant. And I will kind of leave it there. But this book was so good. Like I said, I was like hooked reading it the whole time. I couldn't put it down. I just wanted to know what was going to happen. I really liked our main character, and I thought it was so interesting like how she was written, because she's not just like a 17-year-old. Like she's a 17-year-old, but she's lived all these lives and she's lived through so many different periods of the world. So she actually has like a lot of knowledge and wisdom and life experience, even though she's only 17. And also the way that their love was written was so good, and like the way they fall in love across different timelines, it would sort of jump back and forth between like present day and previous time periods of like how they fell in love and how they died. And it was just so interesting to see how their story progressed. And the writing in this was just beautiful. Like it was just really well written. It was so good. It was so good. I highly recommend this. I definitely get the hype on this book, and that's great because the cover is pretty as well. So yeah, highly recommend. Next, I have The Cursed Melodies, and this is an art copy from Penguin. This is what the normal cover looks like that is in stores. But this is a YA fantasy, and you're following these two twins who have sort of grown up in this orphanage / the foster care system, and they've always been seen as like really weird, and like no one really likes them. They can't seem to like get adopted, and they're like very close to each other, and they kind of have always felt this like magical energy with them, I guess. And then we're also following this other girl. She's grown up in a family where like magic is very known about, and it's sort of expected that she'll go on and like be really good at magic as well, go to some fancy school, it's all she wants, all that kind of thing. And they end up meeting each other, and these twins sort of get like wrapped up into her world, and people are really curious about them. Yeah, maybe I will end it there. But yeah, this book was very interesting. The writing was definitely like quite YA. Like I know it's YA, but you do definitely get a spectrum, and this one felt more on the younger end of it than the older end, or maybe like the middle. But I did still enjoy it. It was very intriguing. Like there was a lot of like mystery surrounding the twins and like the magical world and where they came from and how they got there and all of that kind of thing. And so yeah, I found it like really interesting to follow them. The characters were interesting. They were like sort of likable but sort of odd. Like the twins just gave off such weird vibes that I was like, I don't know how to feel about these two. Like it was giving very like creepy, like attached to the hip twins. And I don't know how to feel. It was a romance, which was cute. Overall, like it was a very fun read. It kept my attention, but it wasn't like amazing. I didn't like love it. I think it's the start of a new trilogy, so I'll be curious to see what happens in the next books. But yeah, that was The Cursed Melodies. Okay, and we are down to the last two books. One of them was a reread and one of them was a new release, and that is The Crimson Moth and The Rebel Witch. So I read The Crimson Moth last year when it came out, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I reread it and I stand by that. It is such a good fantasy book. It's young adult as well. Wow, I read a lot of young adult. Anyway, it's young adult. It's like fantasy romance. It's set in like the sort of Regency era, so you get that sort of Bridgerton vibe with like the balls and like high society and that kind of vibe. And you're following our main character, Rune, who's a witch in hiding because witches are outlawed, but she is also the Crimson Moth, which is her like alias, where she basically goes in and like breaks out witches who have been put in like prison and are going to be basically killed by the Republic. And so she's our main character, and then we're also following Gideon, who is a witch hunter. And he's trying to crack down on who is the Crimson Moth. So it's very interesting. They have a very good like enemies to lovers dynamic. The plot is really interesting. It keeps you hooked the whole time. It's just a really, really fun book, and the way that it ended, I was very intrigued for the second one. So I did a reread of this, and then I picked up The Rebel Witch, and I feel like I can't say too much about it because it is the second book in a duology, but I really liked this one as well, but not quite as much as The Crimson Moth. I think I gave this one like a 4-star. It was good, and I think the duology as a whole is really good, but this one just didn't quite like have me as hooked and like captivated as the first one. I found like the first half maybe just like a bit slower and like a bit harder to like get into and feel super attached. It felt a bit more like going in circles than like the first one, which like felt sort of new and different all the time. But in saying that, we got to the second half and like it felt super action packed. I was like on the edge of my seat. I loved it. I really love both of these characters. I love Rune, I love Gideon. I love them together. And yeah, I think the way that it ended was really good as well. So overall, I really like this duology. I think it's a really good duology, and I love a duology because there's only 2 books to read. It's not like a super long fantasy series, and both of them aren't too long either. So yeah, those are the last books that I read in March. Here is my stack from March. It was a pretty good reading month. I had a lot of 5 stars, but to be fair, 3 of them were like rereads that I already knew were 5 stars. So I had two new 5 stars, which was Glow of the Everflame and Our Infinite Fates. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed listening to me yap about books. I'm so excited for April's wrap up because I'll be able to talk about Oathbound, which I finally read, and also Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, although I just posted like a review for it last week. I feel like I've already had a really good start to April in terms of reading, so I'm very, very excited. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! I'm looking for a